I am the devoted and loyal handmaiden of the young lady. When the young lady angers the prince, I endure the punishment in her stead. When the young lady is poisoned by the princess, I risk my life testing the antidote to save her. When the young lady is abandoned in the wilderness and encounters ravenous wolves, I sacrifice my flesh to lure them away. As the young lady faces an assassination attempt, I prepare to shield her with my own body when I suddenly awaken. It turns out that I am merely a minor character in this substitute narrative, destined to perish at the hands of the assassin. In the aftermath, all that is said is, Cui Zhu, this maidservant, has indeed shown her dedication. I stand before the young lady, helplessly watching as the blade lunges toward me. My foot slips, and I fall to the ground. The young lady is stabbed in the abdomen, her life hanging by a thread. Thus, a final blow is struck, and the young lady meets her tragic end. 1. The young lady gazed at me, weapon in hand, in utter disbelief, while the group of assassins was equally taken aback. Confusion clouded her eyes as she exclaimed, Cui Zhu, I have treated you well. Why? Why have you done this? Having awakened to a profound truth, I recognized that villains often meet their demise through excessive verbosity. Remaining silent, I seized the moment and plunged my blade into her, striking several fatal blows, rendering her heart a ruin beyond redemption. No healer, not even Hua Tuo, could save her now. The assassins, demonstrating remarkable professionalism, did not hesitate to finish their task despite my betrayal. They approached me with knives drawn, but I, now enlightened to the unfolding narrative, stood unperturbed, knowing that the young general, long enamored with the lady, was soon to arrive. Before the blades could truly harm me, the thunder of hooves echoed in the distance, revealing Xiao Qishan galloping towards us, accompanied by his men. To survive, I must ensure that he never discovers that I was the one who ultimately ended the young lady's life. I evaded vital strikes, enduring several blows that stained my garments with blood, causing me to break into a cold sweat. Yet, compared to the time I had personally severed a chunk of my thigh to divert a pack of wolves, this was but a minor ordeal. Even when teetering on the brink of collapse, I gritted my teeth, gripping my blade, and positioned myself protectively before the young lady's lifeless form, vowing to defend her with my last breath. You shall not approach her unless you tread over my corpse. The assassins were momentarily stunned, unable to comprehend my resolve. However, they had no time to ponder further, for the sharp arrows released by Xiao Qishan swiftly pierced their skulls. Only one remained, incapacitated with limbs impaled. I could not allow any survivors. If Xiao Qishan learned that I had slain the young lady, he would undoubtedly subject me to a horrifying fate. With a heart full of sorrow, I lunged at the immobilized assassin, shouting, My lady, Cui Zhu avenges you. The blade found its mark in the heart of the lone survivor, and in an instant, he breathed his last. To ensure that no one could defy death, I thrust my knife once more into both sides and the center, leaving no chance of survival. Once the deed was done, I cast aside my weapon and collapsed upon the young lady's corpse, weeping uncontrollably. My lady, awaken! Cui Zhu has avenged you. My lady, please open your eyes and see me. Do not leave me alone. Xiao Qishan cast a glance in my direction before forcefully kicking me away, cradling the young lady's body in his embrace. My fate now rested in his hands. I watched as he tenderly caressed her cheek, his voice hoarse with grief. A pack of useless fools, kill them all. With that, his loyal guards swiftly severed the heads of the fallen assassins, who had no time to beg for mercy. A wave of sorrow washed over me. These men were husbands, fathers, sons, with wives and children awaiting their return home, yet they perished so easily. What had they done wrong, save for being pawns in a narrative woven to heighten the emotions of the protagonists? 2. I feared that Xiao Qishan's next words would condemn me, the unworthy maidservant who failed to protect my mistress. To diminish my presence, I chose to faint. Closing my eyes, memories of moments spent beside the young lady flooded my mind. She often confided in me, referring to me as her sister beneath the guise of our servant-master relationship. I believed her, deeply moved, pledging unwavering loyalty to her, ready to face any peril. Be it climbing mountains of blades or walking through fire, I would endure it all. My awakening had cleared the thick layer of delusion that had clouded my heart. The young lady merely spoke of kindness, yet her actions betrayed her. The wounds upon my body, both fresh and old, were often inflicted by her desire to provoke the prince. He, unable to punish her due to his affections, would vent his frustrations upon me. After all those years in the manor, how could she be unaware? She could easily have spared me suffering by refraining from inciting the prince, yet she never listened to my counsel, always wielding sharp words. After I endured beatings, she would shed a few useless tears and lament the cruelty of fate. I risked my life to test poisons for her, suffering excruciating pain, yet once she recovered, her attention shifted to entanglements with the prince and the young general, leaving no words of comfort for me, let alone rewards. When I sacrificed flesh to lure wolves while trapped in a cave, I discovered, upon our escape, that her pouch contained dried meat. I hobbled back to her, only to witness her generously giving it away to a beggar on the street. I felt like a fool, believing her kindness was my fortune. I could have lived a life free of suffering, whole and complete. In truth, I was merely a pawn. The young lady was the protagonist, while I was destined to be the maid, fated to sacrifice myself for her. Rather than living in constant trepidation at her side, it would be better to end her life, bringing everything to a close. 3. Xiao Qishan brought me back to the manor, perhaps out of respect for my loyalty. He did not chastise me, but instead summoned a physician to tend to my wounds. Simultaneously, he frantically sought renowned doctors throughout the city to heal the young lady. From a distance, I witnessed his frenzy, cradling her lifeless body as he roared at the physicians. "You cannot save even one life. Worthless quacks. What use are you? Take them away and execute them." A group of doctors trembled as they knelt at the entrance. "General, spare us. Once a life has departed, even the gods cannot intervene." Their fates were of no concern to me, yet, in reality, they were no different from me, merely cannon fodder. "Xiao, General." The young lady was so kind that she would not even harm an ant. To know that so many have died because of her would sadden her greatly. Xiao Qishan offered no response, nor did he meet my gaze. He remained silent, cradling her body. Yet, I sensed he had absorbed my words. One of the guards beside Xiao Qishan shot me a penetrating look before turning to the cowering physicians, barking, "Why are you still here?" The kneeling doctors, as if granted amnesty, scrambled to leave. Xiao Qishan composed himself and inquired, "Has the divine physician not been found yet?" My heart sank. Su Jinbai, the reincarnation of Hua Tuo, was said to have saved the protagonists from the brink of death numerous times within the narrative. I felt 100% certain that the young lady was beyond salvation, yet Su Jinbai was notoriously unpredictable. We found him, but the divine physician lives in seclusion deep in the mountains. Even with relentless haste, it will take 3 days and nights to arrive. 3 days and nights. By then, her body would be in a state of decay. However, the divine physician arrived sooner than expected, on the very next day. Yet, in this sweltering weather, decomposition occurred swiftly. And without ice to cool her, the stench of decay permeated the air, exacerbated by Xiao Qishan's continued embrace of her corpse. The physician nearly retched upon entering. It was only upon uttering the words that there was no hope left for her that I finally felt a sense of relief. Xiao Qishan did not chastise the physician. Rather, he politely expressed his gratitude. As the physician departed, he cast a surprised glance in my direction. "That poison you tested was counteracted. How is it that you still stand here in such good condition?" It was he who had suggested that I, as the young lady's personal maid, test the poison. Internally, I cursed this wretched man, yet externally, I had no choice but to plead with tears for him to save my mistress. Su Jinbai, having a penchant for cleanliness, recoiled at my unbathed state, the combination of my own odor mingling with that of decay as I approached him. He immediately frowned and retreated, leaving without a backward glance. 4. Upon the physician's departure, Xiao Qishan finally accepted the grim reality of the young lady's death and began preparations for her funeral. Each night, he drank himself into a stupor before her coffin, while I knelt vigilantly, guarding her in mourning. As the days passed, I pondered the impending burial. Once she was laid to rest, everything would settle, and my life would be secure once more. On the last night, Xiao Qishan refrained from intoxication and stood in silence before the coffin of his beloved. I, trying to diminish my presence, could not escape the inexorable fate that approached. "Ah Yao, I know you fear darkness and solitude the most. Wait for me at the bridge of helplessness. I shall seek you once my time comes. How hypocritical. If he were truly devoted, he would join her in death at this very moment. As this thought crossed my mind, retribution swiftly followed. Xiao Qishan gazed at the coffin and calmly remarked, "Ayao spoke of you. Your name is Cui Zhu, and she said you were a good maid. Now that Ayao is passed, she is all alone, a foolish girl incapable of caring for herself." At this point, the implications were painfully clear. The dagger at Xiao Qishan's waist could easily claim my life. Should I agree, all would be well. Should I refuse, he would personally send me to my demise. I found myself with but two choices, to be killed or to take my own life. Either path led to death. If I wished to live, I had to fight for my time. Tears streaming down my face, I threw myself upon my mistress's coffin. "Mistress, how can you be without your maid? I must accompany you. Please wait for Cui Zhu." I turned my tearful gaze toward Xiao Qishan. Before her death, my mistress still thought of General Xiao. On that day, she made osmanthus cakes for you. I have kept them, intending to bring them to you, fulfilling my mistress's final wish. Xiao Qishan's sturdy frame trembled, and for the first time, this robust man could no longer contain his tears. Seizing the opportunity, I made my exit. Yet, I was not fleeing, as a mere maid. It would be effortless for Xiao Qishan to capture me. Upon my return, I carried a plate of dry, slightly moldy osmanthus cakes, laced with poison, the mold conveniently masking the deadly trace. My gaze darkened as I beheld Xiao Qishan's silhouette in the morning hall. I had never intended to take a life. I was merely compelled. I placed the osmanthus cakes on the offering table and knelt before Xiao Qishan, prostrating myself on the ground. I shall be buried with my mistress tomorrow, but there is still one concern weighing on my heart. My brother, who is physically impaired, resides on the outskirts of the city in Peach Blossom Alley. I beseech you, General, to look after him. Without hesitation, Xiao Qishan acquiesced, no longer paying me heed, his focus fixated on the osmanthus cakes. After a long silence, he commanded his guard, "Shan Qiu, bring me wine." Shan Qiu complied, bringing forth jars upon jars of strong liquor. Xiao Qishan drank deeply, the osmanthus cakes untouched. Had I known, I would have poisoned the wine instead. I anxiously awaited, and when Xiao Qishan, now intoxicated and with glazed eyes, rose to eat the osmanthus cake, Shan Qiu suddenly drew Xiao Qishan's dagger and plunged it into his heart. Caught off guard, he fell instantly, and I was jolted awake. As I lifted my gaze, Shan Qiu met my eyes, a silent understanding passing between us. The reason was clear without words. The following day, news of General Zhao's tragic demise in mourning for his mistress spread like wildfire throughout the capital, stirring an immense uproar. Countless men and women extolled Xiao Qishan's profound affection. As I pondered my next steps, Xian Yuan Kun stormed into the general's residence, seizing my mistress's coffin. Xian Yuan Kun is the male lead of this tale, the one whom my mistress adored, yet who tormented her as a mere substitute for his lost love. My mistress, once a noble woman, had fallen from grace due to her father's corruption and was taken in by the prince, who, drawn to her resemblance to his beloved, also sheltered me. Initially, he treated her with gentleness, but when his true love returned, my mistress was cast aside. The prince officially married his beloved Songjin, yet still harbored feelings for my mistress, wishing to take her as a concubine. Unwilling to submit, my mistress resolutely severed ties and left the prince's residence. At this moment in the narrative, the prince had yet to fully realize his deep-seated affection for her. Ironically, upon her death, his feelings surfaced with alarming rapidity. Now, with my mistress's coffin stolen, I, her devoted maid, had no choice but to return to the prince's residence alongside it. Upon our return to the prince's estate, Xian Yuan Kun hastily arranged a mourning hall for my mistress, once more. By now, the body within the coffin must have begun to decay. I remained a loyal maid, kneeling by my mistress's coffin, keeping vigil. My knees had long since grown numb, had I not secretly eaten some of the cakes. I would have starved to death after escaping from Xiao Qishan. I thought that once my mistress was buried, everything would settle. It would be best if the prince returned my contract of servitude. If he did not, I would accept a life as a menial maid, far removed from the main characters. But my hopes were soon dashed. Xian Yuan Kun tossed a dagger before me. his hands clasped behind his back as he regarded my mistress's coffin. Ah Yao is quite delicate. She cannot be without a maid at her side. A chill gripped my heart. Was it truly impossible to escape my fate? I would not succumb to death. The king of hell stood before me, and I had no time to hesitate. Swiftly, I picked up the dagger, kneeling on the ground, raising it high. There was no fear of death on my face, only a heart unwavering in devotion to my mistress. Your Highness, I am willing to die, but my mistress entrusted me with the duty to care for you. If you intend to betray her final wish, then kill me yourself. It would fulfill the vow I have made to follow her to the end. In the end, Xian Yuan Kun chose not to kill me, and instead kept me by his side, as his sole personal maid. However, Song Jin, the prince's beloved, grew increasingly displeased with my presence, repeatedly confronting Xian Yuan Kun with tears and tantrums, only to be met with indifference or dismissal, even threatening self-harm without yielding his resolve. Though I was now his personal maid, I spent little time at his side. He merely instructed me to remain in the courtyard where my mistress had lived, visiting only at night to reminisce over her belongings, asking me to recount her past. Yet, Xian Yuan Kun's nightly visits to my mistress's courtyard ignited a sense of unease within Song Jin. My mistress was dead, yet Song Jin harbored no concern for her. Rather, she was wary of me, fearing I might become a replacement for her. On the day Song Jin was released from confinement, she sought me out to create trouble. You and your mistress are both shameless. Your master seduced the prince, and now in death, you seek to ensnare him as well. Seize her, and punish her with a beating. After a few days of relative peace, I braced myself, preparing to flee. I merely needed to escape the courtyard and find someone near Xian Yuan Kun for protection. But Song Jin saw through my intentions and blocked my escape, pinning me to the ground. Just as the stick was about to fall, a maid beside Song Jin spoke up. Madam, you must not. If you kill this wretched maid, you will truly drive a wedge between yourself and the prince. Now that the wretched woman is dead, leaving only a mere servant, she poses no threat. Madam, you must not sacrifice the greater good for the trivial. In my opinion, a mere punishment will suffice. Ultimately, Song Jin reconsidered, allowing me to escape with my life. Though I was left facing a fate worse than death. I was imprisoned in the water room of the estate, a place where Xian Yuan Kun interrogated criminals. Bound in chains, half of my body submerged in icy, foul-smelling water, I was visited by Song Jin's maid and 2 other maids, who brought with them 2 rolls of silver needles, gleaming ominously as they were unfurled. 2 maidservants trembled involuntarily at the sight of the silver needle. The matron cast them a cold glance and snorted, "Look at how frightened you are. It's not piercing your fingers, but hers. If you cannot bear to watch, then leave." The 2 young maidservants left, quaking in their boots. The matron began to menace me with the silver needle, and after a while, when she felt she had sufficiently intimidated me, she merely gestured the needle above my fingernail. Just as the needle appeared poised to puncture my finger, Xian Yuan Kun finally arrived. Upon hearing his footsteps, the matron was so startled that the needle slipped from her grasp and fell to the ground. Xian Yuan Kun rushed in, kicking the matron aside, and rescued me from the water dungeon. Without a hint of disgust, he personally carried me out, and Song Jin, who had hurried over, was nearly driven to the brink of fury upon witnessing the scene. Weakly nestled in Xian Yuan Kun's embrace, I murmured, "Your Highness, it is the fault of this humble servant. I not only failed to fulfill the task entrusted by the young lady, but also brought you here to rescue me." Xian Yuan Kun, incensed by Song Jin's presence, ignored her and spoke to me. "It is of no concern to you. You performed admirably. I am quite satisfied." I was carried back to the young lady's courtyard by Xian Yuan Kun, where he arranged for another maidservant to attend to me. Xian Yuan Kun continued to visit me nightly, seemingly with a change in demeanor. Our conversations became more frequent, although they still revolved around the young lady. I recounted the young lady's virtues and her profound affections for him time and again. Those days when the young lady quarreled with him were mere facades. In truth, she longed for him deeply. Before the night concluded, Xian Yuan Kun unexpectedly turned to me and praised, "You are indeed a loyal maid. I find you quite likable." Following that night of commendation, my relationship with Xian Yuan Kun advanced by leaps and bounds. Previously, He would stand vigil in the young lady's chamber for nights on end. Now, he would stay the night, allowing me to attend to his changing of clothes. I understood implicitly, and when Xian Yuan Kun arrived, I personally cooked and prepared wine and dishes. Each night, I would assist him with changing clothes, combing his hair, and washing up before he slept, and upon waking. The atmosphere grew somewhat delicate. As I stood beside Xian Yuan Kun, he did not speak of the young lady, but instead scrutinized the table full of dishes. "The servants tell me these were all made by you?" he inquired. I nodded. "The young lady has informed me of your preferences and what you enjoy. The unattainable is always the most cherished. That which is lost is the most exquisite." Daily, I extolled the young lady's merits before Xian Yuan Kun. After leaving the courtyard, I encountered Song Jin, who was distraught and in tears. Compared to her, Xian Yuan Kun's patience for her, once his beloved, dwindled. Rumor had it that since their last quarrel, he had not visited her in several days. Xian Yuan Kun appraised me once more. "The flavors are delightful, the dishes well prepared, and your service commendable. Would you be willing to accompany me?" I felt a surge of trepidation, kneeling on the ground, yet before I could fully bow, Xian Yuan Kun lifted me. "You promised you would care for me. Can this be counted upon?" "Of course, it can be counted upon," I replied. Xian Yuan Kun bid me to sit and shared a drink with him. I observed his countenance carefully, cautiously picking at my food. He regarded me with a hint of affectionate exasperation. "Eat. I shall not harm you." He similarly took bites of the food I had prepared. However, as I tasted the vegetables, I sensed something amiss, albeit it was a subtle difference. Noticing my frown, Xian Yuan Kun inquired, "What is the matter?" I scrutinized the greens, saying, "I distinctly blanched them. There should be no bitterness." Xian Yuan Kun immediately grew alert. Realizing something was indeed wrong, summoned the physician. When the physician arrived, he tested the silver needle and examined the dishes, collapsing to the ground in shock. "Your Highness, this has been laced with a contraceptive poison." Upon hearing this, I knelt in terror. "Your Highness, please discern. This was not the doing of this humble servant." My heart raced in astonishment. Who could have done this? Was it possible that it was Song Jin? Yet she had no motive, for as a princess, she needed a child to secure her position. Xian Yuan Kun did not believe my words, nor did he hasten to punish me. Instead, he immediately dispatched someone to investigate. Soon, the truth emerged. It was indeed Song Jin's doing. Xian Yuan Kun, thoroughly disillusioned with her, stormed to Song Jin's courtyard accompanied by the guards. Song Jin, still in slumber, awoke in confusion, her joy dissipating upon seeing the entourage behind Xian Yuan Kun. When he thrust the evidence and poison before her, Song Jin was rendered speechless. "Husband, how could I ever poison you?" She pointed accusingly at me. It was her. She must have switched the poison for the contraceptive. I promptly knelt, defending myself. "How could it be me? Your Highness intends to take me as a concubine. I would long for nothing more than to bear your children. Why would I poison you? The young lady has repeatedly instructed me to care for you. There is no way I would resort to such treachery." Ultimately, one of Xian Yuan Kun's trusted aides presented evidence of Song Jin purchasing contraceptive poison, alongside proof of her plotting to assassinate the young lady, and evidence of her past misfortunes in brothels, having been forced to miscarry multiple times. When these facts were laid bare before Song Jin, she crumpled to the floor, her complexion ashen, beseeching Xian Yuan Kun with desperate eyes. "Husband, my concealments were born of love. I would never poison you. I merely wished to rid myself of that wretched maid. Please believe me." Xian Yuan Kun, more resolute than I had anticipated, offered her no opportunity for defense and promptly sent her to a remote estate. As a result, I successfully became Xian Yuan Kun's concubine. Xian Yuan Kun, however, did not harbor genuine affection for me. He took me as a concubine but insisted I dress like the young lady when sharing his bed. Yet, after numerous attempts, he found himself utterly impotent. Initially, he sought physicians in secret, but to no avail. The whispers of his impotence soon spread like wildfire, and it was not long before everyone was aware of the prince's predicament, even facing ridicule in the court. One night, inebriated beyond measure, Xian Yuan Kun stumbled into my quarters, his gaze hazy with desire, yet calling out for the young lady. "Ah Yao, ah Yao." My yao, yet when the moment arrived, he faltered entirely. He unleashed his pent-up fury upon me, his eyes bloodshot as he gripped my neck, nearly choking me. It is because you are not a Yao, surely that is why. Why was it not you who died? You profess loyalty, yet in critical moments, you fail to shield me. You wretched fool. That night, I was left battered and nearly at death's door. When Xian Yuan Kun awoke from his intoxication and beheld my injuries, a flicker of guilt crossed his features, and he lavished upon me gold and jewelry as compensation. Instead of resenting him, I regarded him with a twinge of compassion. Each evening, I continued to prepare small dishes and warm wine in anticipation of his arrival. Xian Yuan Kun would pull me into his embrace, resting me upon his lap, his rough hand brushing against the bruises on my neck. How did I not notice your worth before? He mused. I smiled as I poured him wine. Naturally. It is because the young lady treated you the best. Xian Yuan Kun downed cup after cup of wine, resigned to the fact that he could never truly be a man again, for I had ensured that the drink was laced with a potion of sterility. Day by day, even the most esteemed physician would be of no avail. My standing in Xian Yuan Kun's heart grew ever more prominent, while Song Jin became a taboo that could never be mentioned in his presence. It was Song Jin's treachery that had led to his inability to father children, a matter most grievous. Seizing the opportunity, while Xian Yuan Kun was away, I departed from the estate and made my way to Song Jin's residence. In just half a month, the once resplendent Song Jin had transformed into a mere shadow of her former self, her complexion waxen and frail. It seemed that even the title of princess afforded her no mercy. Upon seeing me, Song Jin lunged forward. You wretched maid, how dare you harm me? I stood my ground, gazing down at her disheveled state with a smirk of derision. You are but a flickering candle at its end. With a wave of my hand, I commanded her limbs to be bound. Song Jin struggled and cried out, Wretched maid, the prince will eventually uncover the truth. If you dare to harm me, he will not spare you. I am the one cherished by the prince, the one he loves most, she boasted. I coldly dismantled her delusions. Love? If the prince truly loved you, would he seek a substitute shortly after your disappearance? If he truly cared, would he not have searched for you, allowing you to languish in the brothels? Would he neglect you after your demise? Would he punish you for my sake, a mere maid? Wake up, foolish girl. The prince is currently with me. He loves no one but himself. Song Jin fell silent, tears streaming down her closed eyes. I handed a dagger to the matron beside me, who deftly plunged it into Song Jin's abdomen. Song Jin's eyes flew open in disbelief as she stared at the matron. You betrayed me, swapping the poison for a potion of sterility.
Why?
The matron's eyes were filled with hatred as she struck again and again. You caused my daughter's death. How dare you expect her life to be exchanged for yours with a mere whim? Blood gushed from Song Jin's mouth as she maintained her defiance until her last breath, glaring at the matron without a hint of remorse. Because your lives are worthless, the matron retorted, driving the blade deeper and twisting it until a gaping wound was left. Upon my return to the estate, Xian Yuan Kun awaited me in my courtyard, his expression inscrutable as he toyed with a teacup, as if poised to hurl it at my head at any moment. Without hesitation, I knelt before him, prepared to face my fate. I have avenged my lady. Do with me as you please, my prince. Xian Yuan Kun scrutinized me for a prolonged moment, and just as I felt a shiver of trepidation, he suddenly laughed. You are not afraid of death, are you? A truly loyal maid. I could not ascertain whether Xian Yuan Kun's praise was sincere or a prelude to my demise. The fact that he had spared Song Jin, despite her betrayal, hinted that he still harbored feelings for her, his former beloved. Summoning my courage, I cast a dagger at his feet. My prince and my life. I have failed to protect my lady and care for you. I deserve to die. Xian Yuan Kun picked up the dagger, crouching to trace its edge against my neck, a sharp sting accompanying a trickle of blood. Yet he refrained from striking further, discarding the dagger and lifting my chin with his hand. Do you wish to become the mistress of this estate? I shook my head in disbelief, adamantly refusing. I am but a maid. To be a concubine is already beyond my station. The title of princess should rightfully belong to my lady. I am unworthy. Xian Yuan Kun smiled, helping me to my feet. If I say you are worthy, then you are. Xian Yuan Kun kept his word. The estate was adorned in crimson silk, truly making me the lady of the manor. However, on the wedding night, chaos ensued. Xian Yuan Kun entered, inebriated, lifting the veil, sharing the ceremonial wine, and drawing back the bed curtains, yet when the crucial moment arrived, he faltered, lacking the prowess expected of a man. After several failed attempts, he erupted in fury, transforming from a gentle spirit to one who relished in torment. My body bore the marks of his wrath, old wounds compounded by new. The following morning, I endured the pain, rising early to prepare for his morning routine. As I served him breakfast, I rolled up my sleeves, revealing the ghastly scars on my arms. Xian Yuan Kun's expression shifted to one of sorrow and guilt. "Do you blame me?" he asked. I shook my head, my demeanor gentle and considerate. "I harbor no resentment. I merely wish to alleviate your burdens. I know of a renowned physician whose miraculous skills I have witnessed firsthand. Yet." Xian Yuan Kun remained skeptical of my claims until I uttered the name Su Jinbai. Hope ignited in his eyes as he eagerly inquired, "What of him?" "Merely that Su Jinbai is known for his aloofness. It may require your personal appeal to summon him, and even then, he may not respond." Xian Yuan Kun slammed his palm onto the table, exclaiming in anger, "No matter how skilled he is still just a doctor. Let him dare." Su Jinbai resided in a remote and desolate mountain, and the round trip would likely take half a month. Xian Yuan Kun meticulously selected a group to accompany him. Just before his departure, I grasped his hand with longing, reluctant to let go. "Will you truly not take me with you?" Learning of the potential for healing, Xian Yuan Kun's spirits lifted. He smiled, lifting my chin with one hand. "The journey is perilous, fraught with snakes, insects, and vermin. Wait for my return." With that, his fingers trailed from my chin to my earlobe, gently pinching it. He whispered, "Upon my return, I shall cherish you properly." My cheeks flushed as I pressed a fragrant sachet into his hand, my head bowed in shyness. He secured the sachet at his waist, departing with a satisfied laugh. Once he left, I exchanged glances with a nearby maid, swiftly returning to my quarters to don more practical attire before slipping out the back gate of the palace. I followed Xian Yuan Kun from a distance. He and his entourage entered the forest, where the dense foliage made traversing difficult, an ideal moment for an ambush. On the fourth night, as Xian Yuan Kun slept, he awoke to find his guards missing. Even his personal attendant, Ah Si, had vanished without a trace. No bloodshed or signs of struggle to be found. In the wilderness, with all company gone, Xian Yuan Kun's panic was palpable as he resolved to return to the estate, only to turn and find a massive black bear fixated upon him. In a state of terror, he fled without a moment's thought. Yet just a few steps later, he fell into a trap, sharp spikes piercing his leg, eliciting a cry of agony that echoed unanswered. The trap also ensnared a wild chicken, likely set by a hunter. The instinct to survive surged within him. Even with his leg impaled, he gritted his teeth and crawled out, determined to escape. After running for over an hour, Xian Yuan Kun finally paused, glancing around to find no trace of the black bear, and he let out a sigh of relief. Breathless, he sank to the ground to tend to his wounds. Severely injured, Xian Yuan Kun had no choice but to abandon the path he had come and instead seek the divine physician for healing. Gritting his teeth, he pressed on until nightfall, when he finally sat down to rest, only to be startled by the distant howls of wolves. A man with an injured leg had become the perfect prey for the pack. Xian Yuan Kun scanned his surroundings and realized he was encircled by the wolves. As the male protagonist, he naturally possessed formidable skills. Drawing the knife from his waist, he engaged in combat with the pack, the battle erupting instantly. True to his status as the protagonist of this tale, he managed to survive being targeted by over 10 wolves, even slaying their leader. Yet though he lived, his injuries were grave. A chunk of flesh had been torn from his shoulder, the wound a ghastly sight. Gritting his teeth, Xian Yuan Kun raised a torch and pressed forward into the darkness. Finally, as dusk fell the next day, he emerged from the forest, spotting a fenced courtyard illuminated by the pale moonlight. At last, he felt a wave of relief wash over him. But that was abruptly interrupted by a sharp pain in his foot. He found himself surrounded by a swarm of snakes. Xian Yuan Kun, his face paling in terror, stumbled and fell, collapsing upon the serpents, which bit him repeatedly. In a panic, he tore the snakes from his body and crawled toward the courtyard, shouting, "Divine Physician, save me. I am of the Xianyuan royal family. I promise great rewards, wealth, and power. Whatever you desire, I shall fulfill." The gate of the courtyard stood wide open, candles flickering on a table, and within sat a figure clad in blue, unresponsive. Xianyuan Kuen's expression darkened. As a prince of the Xianyuan nation and a brother of the emperor, he had never before been met with such cold indifference. Observing the increasingly sinister look on his face, it was evident that even if the divine physician intervened, his fate would be grim. Yet, Su Jinbai would have no opportunity to save him. Upon entering the house, Xianyuan Kuen was struck dumb as he beheld Su Jinbai, lifeless, her eyes wide open, staring blankly at the table. The physician was dead. At that moment, Xianyuan Kuen suddenly realized his predicament. He turned to leave but found himself ensnared. Along with a group of others, approached him slowly, torches in hand. Xianyuan Kuen regained his composure, finally revealing a glimmer of the charm befitting a protagonist. His gaze darkened as he fixed his eyes upon me and the group behind me, demanding, "Cui Zhu, have I treated you poorly? You, a mere maid, have soared to become a princess. Ah, see, after all these years of loyalty, why have you betrayed me?" No one responded to his inquiries. Xianyuan Kuen recognized only me and his close attendant, Ah Si. One by one, the others unveiled their faces, and Xianyuan Kuen's expression morphed into one of unprecedented terror. Alongside Ah Si were the 15 attendants who had followed him, the wet nurse and maids from Song Jin's side, the guard Qiu Shan from Xiao Qishan's entourage, and all the other servants, housekeeper, physician, maids, and even the old gatekeeper and the crippled man who cleaned the latrines. Xianyuan Kuen, incredulous, exclaimed, "Whose people are you? The emperor? Only he could orchestrate such a scheme. But why would the emperor wish to kill me? I am his brother. I assisted him in his rise. I wield no military power, and I pose no threat to the throne. Tell me, so I may die with understanding." Xianyuan Kuen's face turned ashen as he fell to the ground, bereft of any strength to resist. Yet still, no one intended to answer him. The antagonist must not speak too much or hesitate. But the thought of ending Xianyuan Kuen's life filled us with exhilaration and uncontrollable excitement. The torchlight warmed our faces, and as we contemplated the imminent demise of the protagonist, smiles of revolutionary triumph broke forth. The flames licked at Xianyuan Kuen's body, and the courtyard erupted in anguished cries, startling the birds from the trees. We all bore witness as Xianyuan Kuen was reduced to nothing but charred bones, ultimately shattered into dust, mixed with minced meat to feed the wolves. Subsequently, the courtyard was set ablaze, the fire spreading through the forest. Even the deities could not resurrect him. 3 months passed without Xianyuan Kuen's return. With a 4-month pregnancy, I reported to the authorities, prompting the emperor himself to order an investigation. With neither sight of the living nor the dead, no answers emerged even as I gave birth 10 months later. Fortunately, the royal lineage endured. I bore a son, and while many scorned Song Jin for her jealousy, they simultaneously rejoiced for Xianyuan Kuen, whose escapades ensured the continuation of his bloodline. When the child turned a month old, the emperor personally visited to bestow the name Xianyuan Chao upon him, granting him the title of heir apparent to inherit Xianyuan Kuen's position upon reaching adulthood. As the emperor departed, he assisted me to my feet, our eyes locking, and an unspoken understanding lingered between us. End epilogue. Xianyuan Chao is not Xianyuan Kuen's child. Xianyuan Kuen and I never reached the final step of our union. The potent infertility potion he ingested day after day rendered him incapable of becoming a true man, regardless of his efforts to heal. And I would never bear the child of the protagonist. The child within me is that of Shan Qiu, the guard of Xiao Qishan, the one who killed him that fateful night. On that night, as Shan Qiu took Xiao Qishan's life, I realized that my awakening was not solitary. I understood that unless I eliminated all members of the protagonist's group, I could not escape the fate of being cannon fodder. Thus, I initiated a cleansing plan. Initially, I lacked confidence, but as I discovered one awakened individual after another, Ah Si, who aided in rescuing the physicians, the wet nurse, who delayed during the water chamber incident, the maid who sought help for Xianyuan Kuan, the physician who cooperated during the poison examination, the housekeeper who turned a blind eye to my subtle actions, the maid and servant who occasionally divulged news about Xianyuan Kuan, and even the beggar at the corner gate of the palace. We formed a singular point, extending into a line, weaving an impenetrable net to ensnare them one by one. The emperor, mentioned in the book as dying of illness to allow Xianyuan Kuan to seize the throne, was my greatest card. In the end, all the cannon fodder gained their freedom. Those willing to stay enjoyed wealth and luxury within the palace, while those unwilling took their money and departed. The wet nurse retired to the countryside to manage my estate. Aussie continued as the chief guard of the palace. Shanxiu chose to leave and make a name for himself at the border, while I became the most powerful figure in the palace. The end. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next story.